Figures of speech. A figure of speech is a literary device that conveys meaning in a non literal way, often by employing creative language to enhance expression and evoke emotion. Basically, a figure of speech is a creative way of using words to make language more interesting, impressive, or expressive. So instead of saying things directly, figures of speech use imagination, comparison, or emphasis to express ideas more clearly or beautifully. They are often used in poetry, stories, speeches, and everyday conversations to add emotion, humor, or drama. So we have, according to Oxford's Learner's Dictionary definition, it is defined as a word or phrase used in a different way from its usual meaning in order to create a particular mental picture or effect. A simile is a comparison between two different things using like or as. It highlights similarities between things that are otherwise quite different. So we can say that simile compares two different things that are naturally different, but they have the same quality. So that's why we compare these two things using the words like or as. If I say he is as busy as bee, he's not actually bee, but maybe he works like a bee, as bee works all the day making his honey. So we compared that person to the bee because he works like a bee. And if I say her hair is as soft as silk, her hair is not actually silk, but both have the quality of smoothness. So that's why we compared her hair to silk using similes as. And Bilal was as brave as lion. It's also simile. If he fights like a tiger, her smile is as bright as sun. So we can say that her smile is not actually as sun, but we compared its smile to the sun. And now we have the water was as cold as ice. She cried like a baby. So the last example, she cried like a baby. She's not actually baby, but the way baby cries, she also cried like that. So that's why we compared her to a baby because of their quality. A metaphor. A metaphor directly compares two unlike things without using like or as. It shows a shared quality or feature between compared ideas. A metaphor directly states that one thing is another, making a strong, often symbolic comparison. So we can say that metaphor directly compares two unlike things having same quality without using like or as and saying one thing is another. To give you example, time is a thief. Doesn't mean time literally steals, but it suggests that time takes moments away just like a thief does. So that's why we call them a figure of speech, because it's not about a literal meaning, it's about a critical analysis of these little words. So if I say he's a shining star, so he's not actually a shining star, because a shared quality, similar quality between a star and that person, that's why we call them a shining star without using like or as. And if I say the word is a stage, so means life is like a drama and people play roles. So not, it's not about word is actually like a stage, but because of the similar qualities between the word and a stage. And she's a night owl directly states that girl to a owl. And the classroom was a zoo, because we called classroom to zoo because of the noise and all the things that happened in zoo. That's why. And her heart is rock, because she's not so kind. That's why we compared her to rock without using like or as, but directly states that. And his mind is computer. Personification. Personification gives human traits, emotions, or behaviors to non human objects or abstract ideas. It means giving human qualities, human attributes to non human objects or abstract ideas. And it means we talk about things as if they can feel, think, speak, or act like people. If I give you example, the wind whispered through the trees. So wind cannot whisper, but it feels like it can. And if I give you example, the sun smiled down on us. So the sun is not alive, but we imagine it smiling. So personification makes language more beautiful and artistic, as the leaves danced in the breeze, so giving human quality dance to the leaves as they were dancing in the cold breeze. And like the book Bagged to Breed, so bagged is a human quality. We give it to a non-human object, and to we give it to a object to like say that it's actually bagged to read. And the stars winked at me, winking. So winking is a human quality. We give it to a stars. The moon hid. Hid is also a human quality. We give it to the moon to describe personification. So that's this personification, giving human quality to non-human objects or abstract ideas. And the cord coughed. Coughed is also a human quality. The cord coughed due to bad weather. A hyperbole is an exaggerated statement to put emphasis. When you use hyperbole, you describe things as much bigger, better, worse, or more intense than it really is. And it's about where something is described in an exaggerated way to make it more dramatic, funny, or emotional. It means saying more than what is actually true, not to lie, but to create a strong effect or image. If I give you example, I've told you million of times. I've told you million of times. So it just means many times, not exactly a million of times, just means many times. And she's older than hills. It's not about she's as older than as hills, but because of her age, we exaggerated she's older than hills. And I'm so hungry I could eat a horse. So you can't really eat a horse, but it shows you are very hungry, you're starving. So I'm so hot, I'm melting. So like about a weather, the weather is so hot, I'm melting. You are not actually melting, but you are just telling a situation. And he runs faster than winds. We cannot actually run like a wind. So but just we use exaggerated statement to put emphasis. That bag weighs a ton. That bag weighs not actually a ton, but just about that bag is so heavy. So we use hyperbole. So he cried river after years. So these are all the examples of hyperbole. Alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of consonant sounds in the beginning, which creates a melodic or music effect. It's like a tongue twister that repeats the same letter or sound at the beginning of multiple words. So it usually focuses on consonant sounds like B, C, D, S, T to make the sentences sound musical or catchy. For example, if I say she sells seashells by the seashore, it's like a tongue twister, repetition of the same consonant sounds at the beginning of the words in a sentence. And now we have Peter Pepper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now the repetition of B sound, B consonant sound. Bobby baked blueberry brownie in breakfast. Now we have deep repetition sound. Ducks danced during December. Red rabbits run around rocks. Chubby chicks chase chocolate chips. Now we have Ben bought butter, but the butter was bitter, so he bought better butter to make the bitter butter better. Now the last one is Lily licked lemon lollipop. So it's all about repetition of consonant sounds at the beginning of a words in a sentence. Onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is when words imitate the natural sound they represent, making vivid expressions. So the natural sounds like animal noises, object sounds, or actions. For example, there are lots of sounds like it can also describe actions like rustle. So leaves, that the sounds of the leaf, or noises like creak. When we open a door, That was the sound of the creek. And now we have their examples. The bees buzzed in the forest, the natural sound of the bees. The clock tickled. He popped the balloon. The fire cracked. The snake hissed silently. So that's the natural sound of the snake. The animal hissed like snake do. Hiss like that sound. And the thunder boomed across the sky. He jumped in the pool with the splash. So when someone jumped into the water, so there was the sound of the splash. And then the plates fell and crashed on the floor. So that was the sound of the crashed, means when the plates were thrown on the floor. So there was the sound of the crashed. Ron, a figure of speech that combines opposite or contradictory words to create new meaning. It is used to create an interesting or thought provoking effect. So, means it combines words that seem opposite but to make sense in a specific context. And if I say there was a deafening silence in the hall, so deafening silence means silence is usually quiet, but this phrase suggests an extremely quiet silence that feels loud and that the moment was bitter sweet. So, feeling that both happy and sad at the same time. So, he told me to act naturally. So, he said that act and also about naturally. So, this in the same act and naturally in the same situation. And the affair was an open secret. It was also an open and secret, the same to two different ideas in the same situation in the same context, and she was clearly confused, so clearly and also confused by the instructions. And there was a small crowd, there was also a crowd but a small, so two different items in the same context. And zombies are often referred to as a living dead, and the artist signed the original copy, so it means original and also copy. So two different words in the same context. So that's what tells oxymorons, two different opposite contradictory items. Irony is a contrast between expectations and reality, creating a humorous or tragic effect. It's like a twist or surprise that goes against logical or a normal. So there are different types of irony, like verbal irony. If I say when someone says something but means the opposite, saying that, for example, uh, great weather during a bad storm. And there is the second type is situational irony, like when there's a something mismatch between what we expect to happen and what actually happens, such as example, if fire station burns down. For example, if fire station who cools down the other fire, so it's actually happened the fire in that station. So there's also a dramatic irony, means when the audience knows something that characters don't. For example, in a movie where the audience knows a character is walking into danger, but the character doesn't. So these are the examples of types of irony. Now we have examples. So a marriage counselor files for divorce. So marriage counselor who is responsible for marriage, so got divorced, and a police station gets robbed. A chef cook bad food, so obviously a chef should be cook good food. So there's the irony. So a librarian hates reading. There's also example of irony, posting on Facebook how useless Facebook is. So that person is actually using Facebook and posting that thing, how useful useless Facebook is. And a pilot afraid of heights. So how can be he would be a pilot? And a plumber's house has a leaking pipes, and a traffic pops gets a speeding ticket. So that's all the examples of irony. Apostrophe. Apostrophe is the figure of speech where speaker compares, addresses someone absent, dead, or non-human as if it could respond back. It is often used in poetry, drama, or emotional writing to express deep feelings such as love, sorrow, anger, or wonder. Like it's a figure of speech which a speaker directly addresses someone, so who is absent, dead, and non-living if they were present and capable of responding back. For example, O moon, shine bright tonight. So that's also the example of apostrophe addressing the sun, addressing the moon as if it could hear and respond. So rain, wash away my sorrow. So calling an abstract thing. Oh life, why are you so hard? And the example of twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. And come on, good luck, don't fail me now. So that's all the examples of apostrophe addressing abstract idea. And there's also the example of rain, rain, go away, come again another day. So apostrophe is actually about addressing absent idea or thing, so mean that he actually respond back. Anaphora. Anaphora is a figure of speech where the same words or phrase is repeated at the beginning of two or more sentences, clauses. There's mistake in clauses, so here's clauses or lines. It often used in poetry, speeches, and literature to create rhythm, emphasis, and emotions. So it's basically if I say example of I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up. I have a dream that. So that was the speech of the Martin Luther King, uses repetition to emphasize his vision. So it's basically to show the importance of each action or idea. Examples of I want to live, I want to love, I want to learn. So that's the anaphora repetition of the beginning of two or more sentences. And she believed in hope, she believed in love, she believed in peace. So these are all the examples of anaphora. Antithesis. Antithesis is a figure of speech where opposite ideas are placed side by side in a sentence or phrase to create a strong contrast and highlight differences. It is used to emphasize ideas clearly and powerfully. For example, my brother is tall, but I'm short. So, two different ideas in a same context, and then speech is silver, but silence is golden. And if it was say it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. So that was the sayings of Charles Dickens. Uses antithesis antithesis to show two extremes at once. And if I say give me liberty or give me death, so Patrick Henry uses antithesis to contrast freedom and death, showing the importance of choice. So you're easy to talk but hard to understand. So two different words in the same sentence placed side by side. So that's what antithesis is about. A pun. A pun is a figure of speech that plays on the multiple meanings of a word or similar sounding. It also involves in double meaning words to create a humorous or clever effect. For examples, I used to be a baker, but I don't know how to make dough. Like how different two things. So that was a baker, but don't know how to make a dough. And if I say I'm reading a book on anti-gravity, it's impossible to put it down. So a pun on the word impossible and the concept of gravity. So there are lots of examples, and if I say I couldn't figure out how to put my seat belt on, then it clicked. So emphasis on clicked means then it's a literal meaning then it clicked. So the seat belt was clicked, or it can be a meaning of like clicked then it clicked. So means a realization. And then a bicycle can't stand on its own because it's too tired. It's have both two meanings, a literal meaning because it's a too tired bicycle, or it's been driving or for a long time, so that's why it's too tired. So two meanings. So pun is meaning about a double meaning words to create humorous. So here's the example. I want to be a doctor, but I don't have a patient. So how humorous that fact is. So a doctor that doesn't have any patient. So so he drove his expensive car into a tree and found out how Mercedes Benz. So there's a two meaning that he drove his expensive car into tree and found out that how Mercedes Benz and found out how Mercedes Benz made. So two different things like the brand of the car and how his car bends. So pun is about double meanings. And that's a wrap on today's video all about figures of speech. I hope you found it helpful, easy to understand, and maybe even a little fun or maybe tricky for you. Let me know in the comments which figure of speech was your favorite, or if you have a creative example of your own. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more simple English videos. And hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching. Keep learning, keep shining. See you in the next video. Allah Hafiz.